There was a time in my Christian walk when I experienced something that scared me more than almost anything else in my life. My faith went silent. Not all at once. There wasn't some dramatic moment where I walked away from God. Instead, it happened quietly. Prayer stopped feeling real. The Bible felt like reading words on a page. Worship felt like background noise instead of connection to God. But the strangest part, from the outside, my life looked exactly the same. I still went to church. I still prayed. I still said all the right things. But inside, one question kept growing louder. What if my faith is slowly dying? What I discovered later completely changed how I understand faith. But before I tell you what that was, you need to understand just how dark that season became. At first, I thought it was just stress. Everyone goes through difficult weeks, but weeks turned into months, and something strange started happening. The things that used to bring me closer to God started feeling empty. Prayer became routine. I'd wake up, say the words, move on. The Bible felt flat. I would read a passage and immediately forget. Even worship felt mechanical. And eventually, I stopped expecting anything when I prayed. But the real danger wasn't doubt, it was numbness. Because doubt still asks questions, right? Numbness stops caring. And that's where I found myself, sitting in church one Sunday thinking, maybe my faith just ran out. And in that time, I remember quietly resonating with a passage I had read before, but never truly felt until then. Psalm 13:1 says, "How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me?" Because that's exactly what I felt, like God was distant, like something had gone quiet. And when you're in that place, it feels like you're all alone. Everything began to change because of something surprisingly small. Not a conference, not a powerful sermon, not some emotional breakthrough. It started with a simple decision one morning. Instead of forcing long prayers, I tried something different. I set aside just 5 minutes of silence, no expectations, no trying to feel anything, just sitting quietly and saying one sentence: God, I'm here. That was it. Then I started reading just a few lines of scripture each day, not chapters. Slowly, reflectively, not trying to get something out of it, just being present. And for weeks, nothing changed. No emotional moment, no breakthrough, just quiet. And honestly, I almost quit. But someone kept me coming back. And then something unexpected started happening. The change didn't happen dramatically. It was almost invisible at first. But after a few weeks, I noticed something subtle. My heart wasn't numb. Prayer didn't feel forced anymore. Scripture started speaking to me again, not loudly, just quietly, like the first light of sunrise after a long, dark night. And during that time, I came across a story that began to reshape how I saw everything. It was about Elijah, a man of deep faith who had completely burned out. And in his lowest moment, God showed up, but not the way Elijah expected. Scripture says there was a powerful wind, but God wasn't in the wind. There was an earthquake, but God wasn't in the earthquake. And there was a fire, but God wasn't in the fire. And then came a gentle whisper. 1 Kings 19:11 and 12. And something about that just stopped me in my tracks because I realized maybe the silence I was experiencing wasn't absence. Maybe it was just a different way God was speaking. One morning during prayer, a thought came to mind that completely shifted everything I was thinking. What if God wasn't distant? What if He was teaching me something deeper? Because I began to realize something I hadn't seen before. For most of my life, my faith had depended on feelings. When worship felt powerful, my faith felt strong. When prayer felt meaningful, my faith felt alive. But in that silent time I was going through, God was teaching me to trust Him, even when I felt nothing. And I was reminded of something Scripture says. 2 Corinthians 5:7 says, "For we walk by faith, not by sight." Not by what we feel, not by what we experience emotionally, but by trust. And suddenly the silence didn't feel like abandonment. Honestly, it felt like training. That's when I realized something powerful. Faith doesn't always grow during the emotional moments. Sometimes it grows in silence. Sometimes it grows when prayer feels empty, when Scripture feels quiet, and when God feels distant. Because in those moments, faith stops depending on feelings and starts depending on trust. As strong as emotions are, trust is even stronger. Looking back now, I can see something I couldn't see then. God wasn't absent. He was quietly rebuilding my faith from the inside out, teaching me a deeper kind of faith, the kind described in Scripture. Hebrews 11:1 says this, "Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen." Not seen, not felt, but still trusted. If you're going through a time where God feels silent, where prayer feels empty, where faith feels weak, I want you to hear this. Your faith is not dying. It might actually be growing deeper. Because sometimes the seasons that feel the most empty are the seasons where God is doing the most profound, yet hidden work. So if that's where you are right now, start small. Pray for 5 minutes. Read a few lines of Scripture. Talk honestly with someone you trust. Just keep showing up. Because Scripture also reminds us in Galatians 6:9, "Let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up." Even when you don't see it yet, something is growing. And one day you might look back, just like I did, and realize something incredible. God was never gone. He was quietly rebuilding your faith the entire time. You know, everything we just talked about, that quiet season, that feeling like God is distant, there's another side to that story. Because what if the silence you're experiencing isn't just something to survive, but something God is actually using? In this next video, I walk you through what Scripture reveals about why God feels silent during difficult seasons and what He might be doing underneath it all. Click here to watch that next. And if this resonates with you, I'd love to hear your story. Have you ever gone through a season where God felt silent? Share it in the comments. You might be surprised how many people understand exactly what you're going through.